Hello there, you're watching another episode of Face to Face here on TV1. And today our topic of discussion is flaws in the process leading up to the local government election. And of course we have invited Mr. Rohana Hettiarachchie, the Executive Director of PAFREL, to our studios to speak about this and much more. A very good evening, Mr. Hettiarachchie.
Good evening.
And welcome back to Face to Face.
Thank you.
Let's start off about why local government elections are important, because we see that it's been over 7 years. It's been postponed for over 7 years. And why is it important that we have it at least this year around?
Well, every election is important because every elections we select our representative. It can be a different level, the provincial, parliament, even the presidents. But the local election is among those elections. Local elections are also important mainly because of the power vested with the local authority. The municipality and the Pradesh Sabhas are quite high because the authority they do have, they can intervene from the birth to death of the people. So every aspect of their human life, the local authorities do have a power. But unfortunately, we are looking at basically this street lighting, garbage collections and patchworks, small things. But according to the law, they can start the development program. They can start the education, schools and other things. They can start any business, transportations or whatever the business. They can have a power to initiate, and also they are the only authority other than the parliament who can earn and spend. The local authority do have a power to earn and also spend, because the rest of the, even in the provincial elections, provincial council, which is the highest level compared with the local, they can earn, but they have to send it to the central government, and then they can they should ask or appeal them to send the money for submitting the proposals. But the local authority, they themselves can decide, initiate. They have a freedom to do that and earn the money and spend the money. So therefore this is really important for local level people, even though they have not realized it properly. I don't know whether councillors themselves, whether they realize this power vested with them as the councillors, as the mayors. I don't think that everybody understood it properly. But I know some occasions, I think you can remember the last local elections which was scheduled in 2023. Some of the parliamentarians resigned from parliamentary seat and contest for Colombo municipality, because they have realized that the power with the mayor than the power with the member of parliament in parliament. So therefore this is really important place where people need to look at it, and the councillors also need to be serious. So therefore I wish to highlight in the same way that people should vote these elections, because generally, you know, even though we talk about the importance of local councils, but generally people look at it in the other way around.
They mostly feel like, you know, we voted for the presidential election, we voted at the parliamentary election, but this is, you know, not as important as the other two elections. People don't even make the effort to go to the polling station sometimes when it comes to the local government election. Don't you think that we should come out of that mindset?
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to explain, because the people are happy to vote for parliamentary and the presidential election because mainly because they can change the government, the big change. But the local council itself is a smaller government. We call it Punchi Andu in Sinhala. So they have enormous power. It's a separate unit for that specific geographical area. So therefore people, each and every citizens, each and every voters should mark their ballot for the upcoming local elections, because if you fail to do so, the unpopular people, unsuitable people can be elected. because the political party, because the people like who has some sort of evaluations of local councillors, so some sort of evaluations or analysis on politics, they may not go to polling stations to vote, but the rest of the people, they go and vote. So end of the day, the bad people will get elected if you are not marking your ballot at upcoming local elections. So therefore, my humble request as PAFREL, so every citizen should be serious about upcoming local elections.
Organizations like PAFREL have often empowered people to vote right, to think right and vote right. So this time around, when it comes to these local government elections, like you very rightly said, the Punchi Chande, people don't really think too much about the candidates that they vote for, because it's mostly done over, you know, their friends or the neighbors. It's mostly done over aspects like that, rather than actually evaluating the candidate before you cast their vote. How should you think that the general public should rethink, recheck about the candidates before they cast their vote?
Of course, actually that's a good question. I don't know whether you can, Aveksha, whether you can remember the March 12 movement is part of PAFREL programs also, but it's a broader network, broader collective. We have introduced scorecard for voters to assess their candidate. Before you mark your ballot paper, you have to think twice. Why should I select this person? Why should I select this political party? And also it is depend on the level of representations also. When it's come to the parliamentary elections, it's a different level. So you have to select the different people, because as a policy makers, as a lawmakers, so they need to have a different skill on that. But it's quite similar, even the local elections, not maybe the same scale, but as I explained before, the local councils also, they can make a bylaws, and they have authority to control the finance on that geographical area, not for the entire country. So therefore, when you select as a citizens, as a voter, you need to look at the track record of candidate. At least 50% of the candidate, whatever the party they contest, whatever the independent group they contest, they were in the field in the past. Actually, the last parliamentary election, it was little difference, but I'm sure these elections, there are 49 political parties are already submit their nominations across the country. Now we are ready for 339, the entire local authorities elections on 6th May. So these 49 political parties, mostly they go with their previous councillors, members. So people has to look at their track record, whether they are capable enough, whether they are qualified enough to be a representations as a representative of the public. And also you need to think about the level of corruption, because that is the biggest issue which we are talking about with regard to the politics. When you talk about the politics, always corruption is going with parallel. So the voters need to serious about those things. So my proposal is, you can look at March 12 movement scorecard, or even you can list out the candidate in your area, because these local elections we are going to have a mixed system. So therefore there is there are two lists, contesting list and secondary list. Contesting list, of course, the people should come in from the same area, and most probably they are from your village, so you know the people. What you can do is, you can list out the name of the candidate from the different political parties who has submit their nominations, and you can put up your own criteria. Measurable criteria, and qualitative and quantitative, the both. And end of the day, you can give the marks, and you can analyze who is get highest. That is the one way. On the other hand, because in this system you can't select, you don't have right to mark preferential. Only what you can do is, you can mark the ballot only for the party. So therefore you can look at the party, there is no such a manifesto, but party politics, which party is suitable to run this local authority. So either way you can look at it. You can look at the party first, or either you can look at the candidate first. So either way you can decide, but end of the day you have to mark your ballot to the party or independent group. So that is the system where we are exercising for the local elections.
When speaking about the candidates, we see that there are many parties and many candidates who are contesting this time as well. Especially we may see a lot of fresh faces, newcomers coming into the political arena. What are your thoughts on that? Because we see now this time around there is an increase in the number of rejections in nominations as well, as you very clearly said. So what are your thoughts on that entire scenario of the nomination process?
Well, that is also really sad situations. This is the election in entire Sri Lankan electoral history, in my knowledge. The large number of nomination paper was rejected. 427 nomination papers was rejected. 2023 only 163 nominations were rejected. So this time 14% nomination papers out of 2,900 nominations, 427 rejected. That means larger portions. And also now our election is taking place for, the nomination was called for 339 local authorities. Out of that, only 114 local authorities, there is no any single rejections. Only 114. That means the majority of the local authorities, 2/3 of majority, at least one nomination paper were rejected. So that is really serious situations. We realized this situation prior to the elections, prior to the nomination, of course. So we as PAFL, we prepare the document. What are these technical issues where our nomination can be rejected? And we had shared these document to the political party. But unfortunately, most of the parties was not serious about it. But there are some other issues also related to rejections, because the law also little complicated, and there was a communications gap between the political party and the elections officials, because the different communications was there, and political party was not, some parties and some independent groups were not properly understood what is the law says. So there are certain issues were there for rejections, and these elections, the other component which I like to highlight, related to your questions also, both questions, there are new elements came into these local elections. It was there before 2012, that is youth quota. So due to the quota, it's of course it's not due to the quota, but political parties failed to submit the nominations with the given percentage of quota for youth. That also one of the reason for rejections, because youth quota has to fulfill in their nomination papers, either first list or the second list, 25% quota. That was completely new to this local election system. That also part of the reasons. In addition, compared with 2023, this time there is a new law again, that is called campaign finance regulations, or ceiling of campaign. So that also newly introduced for the local council. That is the first election we were prepared with that law in 2023, but unfortunately due to the political reasons,
the election was called off.
Yeah, exactly. But these elections, therefore, there are two new elements has introduced or are practicing for this upcoming local elections.
Now, when we take the history of elections in Sri Lanka, Mr. Hettiarachchie, we see, like you said, that ensuring adequate youth and women representation has always been a recurring challenge. Do you think there will be a progressive change this time around?
Certain extent, yes, but you know, the youth quota was there before 2012. Unfortunately, because some of these MPs, those who are in the parliament even now, they get through this youth quota. Some of the MPs, they came through the local council and contest for the provincial, then
to the parliament.
To the parliament under that quota. But 2012 with the new amendments or a change with the local council system, election system, I don't know whether they forgotten it, but somehow they abolished the youth quota and brought the women's quota into it. The Sri Lankan history, the women's and the youth both are marginalized. Now we have a quota for both quota for local elections, but unfortunately again the youth quota only for the nominations. There is no guarantee, there is no assurance for youth to get elected. If they are popular enough, there are chance. But women's quota, at least it is compulsory for the women's for the local level. Contesting list, you have to submit 10%, and the second list you have to give 50% for the women's. End of the day, after the elections, Election Commission has to make sure 25% elected or selected representative in the council. So that is the system. But unfortunately again, most of the political parties was not properly prepared for these women's representatives. They have handpicked only on the last minute, just before the nominations. There are family members, colleagues, not really trained political cadres. And also women's and youth are marginalized the other political level. Provincial level, there is no women's quota. Parliamentary level, there is no women's quota. At least nomination quota. So I think we need to lobby to the political party. Not only the representations, actually the political party hierarchical positions. I don't know whether you can remember anybody other than some family relations. You can identify women's leaders in the political party or a party secretaries. Very rare, very rare. So political hierarchical level, only very few positions they offer for the women's. So that has to be changed if we really think to increase the real women's political participations. We should offer each and every level of political structure for these representations, and people's also or voters also need to serious about it. Quota is good for as a starting point, but it should be a practice by the parties, by the citizens also.
Now we see that in a politician's career, most of the time this could be their stepping stone. You know, like you said, there are so many that have come in through local government elections, then proceeded to the parliament, and then they have continued with their political career. What are your thoughts on, we also see that some people are doing this in reverse. They've been in parliament, and like you said, sometimes they step back down and come back to the grassroots level. And then that's making the competition even more tighter for those freshers that's coming in. What are your thoughts on a situation like that?
Well,
do you think when it's time to go, you have to go?
Of course. I mean, people are not ready to leave, so they wanted to continue, and they need to realize when the times come, they have to leave. Otherwise, those people who has made big difference for the country, if they have not retired in the right time, they will be unpopular. It's happening across the country.
We saw that happen in the general election
exactly,
as well.
Yeah. And unfortunately, once you become a president, the first citizens of the country, but after some time, once you lose that positions, you will go and contest for the parliamentary elections. Of course, legally you have right to do that. Even we can remember some presidential candidate, after some time they run for the local council also, and they lost the local council as well. What is their situations then? This is really unfortunate, but as you said, it creates unnecessary competitions among the youth, among the women's, among the other candidates. So once you reach to certain level, I think you need to maintain that level, and you should not go back again, even though you have right to do that. I mean, we can't argue on that because the democracy, so anybody can contest for whatever the level, local council, provincial, parliament, president, and you can go back to the local level also. There is right, there is no issue with that, but that is not the culture we should build. But this is not only Sri Lanka, this is basically this is happening for Asian contests. Most of the Asian countries, they don't give up. I mean, it's good that if you are not giving up,
but it's more or less the hunger for power.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So I have experienced many other countries. So the top level politician again go back to the parliamentary level or local level and contest. This is really bad political culture. That is why we initiate this March 12 movement and create a progressive political culture in this country. I'm happy in certain extent. Now we were able to create that culture in certain extent, but still there are long way to go.
Indeed. Let's talk about the election law. We see that right now there may be a thought that the election law may be flawed, because even the Court of Appeal has announced that there appears to be a problematic situation with regards to the election law. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't want to criticize, or I don't want to discuss about the judicial matters, but of course that is correct. There are certain laws which need to be corrected, and complications within the law in the same issue, but a different legal framework for example, the local level, provincial level, parliamentary level, but the same issue, same content, but the different way of drafting the law. The law has to be very simple, and law has to be easily understandable for candidate as well as the citizens. Electoral system also the same. It should be very friendly and understandable level. But unfortunately, the lawmakers or those who are writing the legal frameworks, their standard, their writing level, I don't know, I mean, I can't say whether it's right or wrong, but unfortunately general public can't understand. I mean, if you check with the political party leaders sometime, if you check with the candidate, they do not know what kind of law applicable for their campaign, and it is little complicated within the legal framework also. Sometime we also heard the different answers from different officials for the same issue. It has not cleared properly, and for, I mean, this case, the nominations, that also little complicated, because it's we have practiced in a different way in the past, and some election it has changed, and political parties are maybe not aware on that. So we as PAFL now, we have initially discussed with the chairman of the Elections Commission and the entire commissions, we are going to study the whole rejections of nomination rejections, and identified all the gaps in the law and practical barriers and understanding issues. We are going to prepare kind of recommendations, or rather change the law accordingly with the Parliament through the Elections Commissions, because otherwise those political parties who are criticize this nomination rejections and all these loopholes, but they forget after the elections. They will again realize it
at the next
elections when they realize that their nomination is going to be rejected or rejected, then they will start criticizing again. But they need to realize that the elections commissions can't bring the law. They are just implementers. Elections observers also can't bring laws. I mean, that is the Parliament. But what we can do is we can propose something. We can recommend something. Elections Commission also can advise them all these, considering all the practical issues, and they can recommend something. The Parliament or a political party need to take the leadership on that. So immediately after these elections, we are prepared to do that, because otherwise the same thing will happen the next elections also. So we don't want to make it happen again.
Indeed, there is a lot more to talk about, but we'll cross over to a short commercial break. Stay with us. This is Face to Face on TV1.
Entertainments. Entertainments.
Solomon, beware. This girl's got poison.
Rita Lisa.
Oh, thank you.
Fortunately for you.
And if you do not perform, this is a protest vote we are going to place, and that signal, that protest vote will go down very well, because the government will know that their popularity is coming down and they will have to arrest him.
This government needs checks and balances.
You can't say only winning parties announce their candidates. There have been it has been time and time again where, candidates are chosen.
Our police is still being restructured and reformed at the moment, and that is part of the reason. But I also think organized crime is a bit unsettled at the moment.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Face to Face on TV1. We're joined by Mr. Rohana Hettiarachchie, the Executive Director of PAFREL, and our topic of discussion today is flaws in the process leading up to the local government election. Before we crossed over to the commercial break, we were also speaking about campaign financing. Tell me a little bit about limiting the candidates' expenditure this time around in the local government election, because this has been a recurring challenge, and we have 71,000 candidates, I believe, taking part at the local government election. How is this monitoring going to be done?
Actually, it's a big challenge, and there's no such a structure or a process from the official side, authority side, to monitor the campaign ceiling, and it's really difficult. task. Even the observers group, it is very tough for us, very difficult for us, because as you said, 71,000 candidates is not easy. But the political party and the candidate, if they really wish to do so, they can, because they can look at their opponent candidate and they can monitor their expenditure, and at the end of the day, if it is go beyond the law or limitations, they can challenge it. They can get the advantage also. They can get the benefit.
Do you think these candidates are aware that they can, they are eligible to do things like this? Do they even know that these are the rules and regulations that they need to stick to? Have the political parties really done that part from their end?
That's also really good point. I'm sure that majority of the candidates are not aware on that. Even the part, there is no such a mechanism from the political party side to aware the candidate, because the candidate also they have found only on the last minute, not like in the past. There is no such a political party cadres like in the past. Just close to the elections, because I know personally some of the parties has already shared with us, they have selected their candidate only on the last week. There is no proper mechanism for them to educate even their own candidate. And this is the first time which we are going to implement for the local elections, other than the LPT. LPT, of course, we had just one local authority, but we have experience in the presidential election and parliamentary elections, but it's not the large scale. But for these elections, it's very difficult for election commissions and the observer group or civil society to educate each and every candidate on that. But they are duty bound to submit their report end of the day, because if they fail to submit their report within 21 days, they can be disqualified even they get elected. So political the candidate should submit 2 reports according to the law. One is their income report. So each and every single cents they have to report. If you get the money from your colleagues, friends, whoever, business people, you have to maintain the name of the persons, the ID card number, address, the amount. It can be even in-kind support. Then you have to get the market value on that. For example, if someone give you a place to run your office, then you have to calculate the market value of that premises, and you have to put the amount. So that is the income. They have to have a detailed report on that. Then each and every your expenses, the other report. Only exclude your transportations, candidate transportations, and candidate communication expenses, basic communication expenses. Other than that, everything has to be reported, and you have to report it within the 21 days. That means within 3 weeks. Now we have experience with presidential election, parliamentary elections, and LPT Pradesi Sabha. So presidential elections, 13 people, 3 individuals and 10 political party were not submit the report within the given time frame. Now the police has already taken the step to take them to court. Parliamentary elections, more than 1,300 candidates were not submit their report. Again, there is no provision for elections commission to take legal action. That is also one of the area where we need to look at, revisit the legal framework. Election commission can only complain to the police, then police has to take the advice from the attorney's department, then only police can take further actions or take into the court. And the LPT Pradesi Sabha, just one Pradesi Sabha, right? But there are more than 150 candidates will not submit their reports. That means thousands of cases are pending now. So let's look at 71 candidates for upcoming local elections. If 10% not submit their report, again thousands of them. And what will happen if they have not submit based on the legal actions? The court can disqualify you for 4 years to contest any elections and even your voting rights, and you can fine 400,000. If you get elected, you can disqualified. So it is serious issue. So my humble request for the candidate, whether you are a political party candidate or even the independent groups candidate, you have to submit your report within 21 days. Therefore, you have to maintain your report from the day one, and every day you have to maintain your report. Otherwise, it may be difficult for you to submit your report within shorter period. And this is sad part is sometimes, because we learned some other elections, some candidates, their name is in the list, but they were not aware. But in this case, whether you are aware or not, if your name is in contesting list, sometimes some people, some parties, just to fill the candidate list, they choose your name and put someone else's signature and submit. But if your name is in the list, then you are duty bound to submit your report, whether you know or not, whether you like or not. So therefore, it will affect you personally, your voting right, if you are not submit. So my request is to maintain report properly, daily basis, or you have to assign someone to maintain that report. Otherwise, you will be in trouble immediately after the elections.
How effective do you think is the current administrative framework in dealing with these irregularities?
It is not sufficient. Actually, we are the one who really, I can say I am the one who really drafted the initial legal framework in 2016 in consultation with Elections Commission, in consultation with the political party, and in consultation with the Elections Observers Group. So the law has established based on that document, but unfortunately when it's come to the parliamentary level, it has changed drastically. Some of these basic things they have removed from the original draft. So law has to be changed. We have to revisit the legal framework immediately after the upcoming local elections. The power should vested with the Election Commission. And also one of the fundamental area where lawmakers has to address this filing the case. If somebody is unable to submit their document within the given time frame, we don't want to go to the court to get the judgment. It should be automatic disqualification, because otherwise we are wasting time and money. We are wasting time of elections commissions, we are wasting time of police, we are wasting time of attorneys, we are wasting time of judiciary. So it is very clear cut. If you are not submit your report within a given time frame, even if you go to the court, the judgment is very clear. If you have not submit the document within the given time, there is no argument on that. Then you should be disqualified. So therefore, I think law has to be, that is the basics things which we need to change. If you are not submit the document, automatically you should be disqualified. But if you feel that you have a legitimate reasons that you were not able to submit your document within 21 days, then you should have an appeal process, either to the court or Elections Commission. That is optional. So there are many other areas where we need to revisit the campaign finance ceiling, because there is no ceiling for contributors. So if I am willing to contribute or support some candidate, I can fully support. I mean, it's really serious about the parliamentary elections. If one business person support for one parliamentarian, his entire expenses, end of the day, what will happen if he get elected? Even if he become a minister, then you have to find the way for him or her to get it returned. So what is the mechanism for get it returned? It's a public money again. You have to either allow him to do kind of
some business benefits
with the public money. So there should be limitations where one individual or institutions can contribute whoever's campaign amount. So in our proposal, we mention around, I think, 5%, the maximum one individual can contribute to the candidates at the total expenses. There are some limitations on that also. So therefore, this legal framework has to be revisited.
Definitely. Let's talk a little bit about the role of the citizens at this election as well. I'd also like to ask you, do you think the Sri Lankans in somewhat of a fatigue with elections, because it's been elections back to back now after a long break? Do you think this will affect the voter turnout this time at the local government elections?
Well, the turnout of this Sri Lankan history of elections, basically the local elections somewhere around 55 to 65. I'm saying in general, right?
As per your reading.
Parliament, provincial elections, roughly about 60 to 70. Parliamentary elections and the presidential elections above 70. It go up to 70, 85 actually. But that's the calculated official figures in general, I mean in average. But in reality, it is more than 90%, 95% I can say, because the Elections Commission calculate these figures based on the registered voters. But out of these registered voters, number of registered voters, around 3 million people are overseas. They don't have chance to mark their ballot. And again, around 1,500,000 to 1 million people are unable to visit their specific polling stations on the polling day. So, rest of the people, 95% or even more than that, people who are in the country, they go and mark their ballot. So the real percentage Sri Lanka is more than 95%. But the venue calculations, Election Commission doesn't have any other options, because they have to look at the registry, number of registered voters, and based on that they have to calculate the percentage. But if we manage to establish a system, in-country voting, those who are not in a position to go their polling station physically on the elections day, we can have a alternative advanced voting mechanism. Even the overseas voting, we can have a different mechanism. Now, May 12th, Philippine election is going to take place. They are going to introduce e-voting system, those who are not able to go to their polling station. So something like that. So what I am trying to say, so we need to address those issues, then our turnout will be more high level. So across Asia, again, with my experience, I have been going around Asian countries, at least 30-40 countries I have experience on elections. So Sri Lanka voting percentage is really high, but people are sometimes little fed up with one after the other the elections, and political culture also has been changed. Earlier it was like a festival. During elections period, it's a festival. There are people who work for political party, for their candidates by their heart, and end of the day they get the benefit also. But now it has little change. So therefore there is no such a demand from the party, from the citizen side. So therefore it will be little decrease. But we need to encourage, as I explained from the beginning, we need to encourage voters to go and mark their ballot.
Of course. This will be my last question to you. What is your message out to the people out there who may be thinking twice whether they should go back to their village to cast their vote, whether it's worth spending that money to take the bus and go to the village to cast their vote, whether it's worth taking time off from their day-to-day activities to take their time to go and cast their vote? What is your message to the general public?
Well, the entire my talk based on that. So this local election is really important, and now with the last two elections the political culture also little bit change. We do not know what will happen in the future, but so far we have seen some sort of growth on that. So these elections too, people, whatever the party you vote, you have to mark your ballot, otherwise you will lose your opportunity to develop your area, because as I mentioned earlier, the local authority has enormous power with local councils members. So you should, before you mark your ballot, you should evaluate your candidate, you should evaluate the political party, but somehow you should find your way, you should find your time to exercise your voting right for May 6th. Some people maybe the postal voting is going to take place 24th, 25th and 28th and 29th. Those the government officials, I'm sure that they will, most of them will mark their ballot. But the general public, the entire country, the entire citizens need to be serious about marking their ballot and select your representative who can serve the country, who can serve the local authority in your geographical area.
Indeed, that is your message to vote wise at the local government elections 2025. With that, we wrap up the show for tonight. Thank you very much, Mr. Hettiarachchie, for joining us today. As you always do, bring in a lot of insightful thoughts to this conversation. And that's a wrap of Face to Face for tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow at the very same time. Till then, good night.